The sun has never shone so fiercely here. A 3-year drought has finished turning this part of Niger from Sahel to Sahara. A change measured daily by Ousmane Al-Habid and his son, Tuareg herders who measure the transformation in goats and in their carcasses.
It's famine all around. They're exhausted. The cow herder who had 2,000 animals before now only has 50 left. What can I say? And the ones who remain are too weak to walk. Look what they're eating. Sand.
Take them to the market.
It's impossible. Impossible.
The goats are no longer strong enough to make the 3-day journey to the nearest town where Ousmane can sell them. And this lonely, dusty village is now getting hungrier. 500 nomads have settled here in tents that hold all their worldly belongings. Among them, Mahamadou Maali, who lives on what he can in this one, with his 5 children and his wife, Gulaski.
We can't live like that anymore. We're desperate.
What do you live on now?
Now we have nothing left to eat. There's nothing to eat, look.
Is there millet back there?
It's corn flour.
Outside, the wind is blowing up a sandstorm from which the tent provides little protection. The family's reserves are low, and more goats will have to be sold.
It's just how it is. It's what I have to do. I have no other solution.
As the storm gets stronger, the tent turns darker. Orange sand blows straight through and into the eyes of the children. It is for them that Mahamadou wants more. He says they all go to school.
I want my children to be educated.
What for?
For their own good, so that they move on up, so that they survive, and when I grow old, they can take care of me.
As the storm begins to die, the sand settles everywhere. Harsh conditions have always been a fact of life here among these nomadic Tuaregs. It is the fear for the future that is new. 3 days' walk south near the town of Tanout, the sky is blue, but the outlook no fairer. Garin Malam has been in town and is bringing back what he can to his village.
In the village, despair is all around. There's only a few goats left. There's not much. There's no food. How will we manage? Some people go to sleep on an empty stomach. What can we do? There's no way out. Words won't do a thing.
But he agrees to show us, and we're invited to follow him back to his village, a lonely outpost of huts, perched on the desolate sand of the Sahel. Boulfou al-Bourdatan is a Tuareg village that was built on agriculture, but where hunger now reigns. Its chief has lived here all his life and says he's never seen anything like it. He reckons he's well over 80.
These kids, they're trying to sow crops, but they're going to need water for it to grow, aren't they?
The village's sandy fields have just been planted and the rains are due. But last year, too little came too late, and here inside the village, the reserves have already run out. The inedible is now all there is left to eat.
We put water in it, we cover it completely and then soak and rinse the grain in it for 3 days. Then we clean it, we put in the pot, we put natron in, and we keep going until the rainy season when we'll plant it and we'll have millet. But the rainy season is late. We have real big problems. People and animals, they have nothing to eat. There's nothing to drink. A lot of them have left for watering holes.
All around the village, empty huts tell of hunger, desperation, and flight. For those who remain, everyday life has become a fight for survival. Sedentary Tuaregs for whom life in these parts was never easy, but for whom it has become increasingly desperate. The youngest are the hardest hit and the most vulnerable to disease. This family of 10 is down to just one meal a day. Its head says they've never been so hungry.
It used to be much better. This year, things got much worse. We're getting by, but the children have sores. This one here, too.
Near the province's capital, Zander, foreign money has built this specialist unit. Here, women and their sick, malnourished children come from far and wide in search of hope. The local doctors do what they can to cope. Sadi and her son are among the many new arrivals. At 13 months, Ibrahim weighs only 5 kilograms.
He's come from Gunan, 15 kilometers away. The child was vomiting and had diarrhea. It's malnutrition combined with dehydration and a slight respiratory infection.
A diagnosis that has become all too commonplace. Admissions to this center have tripled in a year. All the babies inside the intensive care unit are severely malnourished and need to be given enriched milk. Most, though, are too weak to eat. They have to be fed through the nose as well as rehydrated every 15 minutes. These are babies that have almost lost the will to live. The trouble is that they are not just hungry, but also sick. Many have been brought in by their mothers with gastroenteritis.
It's a vicious circle. Malnutrition brings on gastroenteritis, and gastroenteritis facilitates malnutrition.
Too often, though, the babies are brought here long after they should be.
It's often from villages far from here. The mothers have trouble getting here, so it has to be really serious for them to come, and too often they get here too late.
These are the lucky ones. Many will be ready to go home after a couple of weeks. Some have even learned to smile again. The trouble now is convincing the mothers to leave this haven. Here, there is food provided by foreign NGOs. Getting ready to go also means preparing to face life beyond the walls of the hospital. Back in Tanut, this is what it looks like. This rundown warehouse, the best hope around here of holding out till the next harvest. Cheap food is being handed out by the government to those who've been identified as being most in need. Approximate lists have been drawn up, and not everyone is eligible. The aid is foreign, but its distribution's been organized by the country's junta, which since taking charge in February has made the crisis a priority. And yet, many of these people will go home disappointed. Most nomads simply don't figure on official lists. For some, though, the 3-day wait will have paid off. Now they have to get home.
It's a 5-hour drive to our home to bring food, but we don't even have any animals to transport it. And they die on the way in any case. That's the problem. famine, for us and for our animals.
Scenes like this are nothing new in Niger. Every year, some aid is given to help pull farmers through to the next harvest. But for months, NGOs have been warning that too many would get left out this year. The trouble is that the word famine was one that the previous government refused to hear. These warehouses in Niamey are where the aid begins its journey. Minkaila Hamidou runs the government's food crisis centre from the office of the Prime Minister. All the better, he says, since the junta took over, although the previous government's prevarication has caused delay.
First of all, there has to be political will. When you're faced with a crisis, if there's no political will, you don't have the wherewithal to handle the crisis. This year, we've already had the first distribution of aid in May. In previous years, we had to wait until July. That means we're learning the lessons of past years, but the problem this year is we don't have enough cereal to carry out the programs we have planned.
In all, 28,000 tons of grain have yet to be found. On the outskirts of Niamey, another sandstorm threatens. Once again, the sky turns an ominous orange, and day turns to night. But this time, behind the sand, there is rain. And with it, hope for the next harvest and for the future.